What's going on, guys? Welcome back, or welcome to for the first time. If you are just seeing this for the first time, the Bankroll Builder series. So 8 days ago, we started with $20 minimum deposit on a site called Ignition Casino, and we have been playing the lowest level, which is 2 cent, 5 cent, on that website. And the idea is that we are going to stay at that level until we have 30 buy-ins for the next level, where we'll be moving up. Next level is 5 cent, 10 cent with a $10 buy-in. So once we have $300 in the bankroll, we'll move up to that level, and we're going to continue that process for I think about 9 months, just the whole time that I'm in school here. So I think last episode we had ended off with $86 in the bankroll. So we're going to pick up from there. I played an hour session that night, actually, after I posted up the last episode. Played an hour that night, and I played 2.5 hours yesterday, or 3.5 hours. So these are the most relevant hands that I recorded from that smaller session, and then my session yesterday. So we'll just get into some hands here, do a little bit of analysis, and at the end of the hands, you guys can see where the bankroll is at today. All right, guys. All right, so first relevant hand from that session the other night was Ace King, and we are in the big blind. The button bumps it up 4x. We've been at this table, I think, for about 15 minutes and haven't really played too many pots. So this is the first hand that we pick up that night. Seat 5 I had been playing with earlier in the night. His name's Aaron. So he already knew my play style, and he subscribed to the channel. He's a cool guy. So there he goes. He shoves, and we just call. He shoved with ace 9. Not a great shove by him, but I mean, he was short stacked, so we take that one down. Next relevant hand, we have queen 10 of clubs, and we're under the gun. We decide to make it 4x, and we're gonna play a pot with this hand here. So we 4x. 4x is pretty much our standard. We 4x, and if there's, if we're in later position, then a few people had limped in, and we'll charge them 1x per limper. So pretty great flop for us. We flop trips here, and we would put a continuation bet with our whole range. We just put it in real quick here, just so it looks like it's just our natural thing to do. 4 is a thinking player. He's a good player, and he's been making moves at the table, and he's a pretty solid player. So we're going to be c-betting this like 100% of the time anyway, even if we don't have the 10, and he knows that. So what we're going to make it look like is we just put in a little c-bet to hopefully take it down, and now with 2 callers we're scared, and we're just going to kind of give up here because we've picked up additional equity also with the flush draw there. So 4 is a good player. I was thinking that he was calling me. I mean, obviously he could have a 10, he could have pocket deuces. These are all possible, but I really think that he was just calling me and using his position with plans to take it away on later streets, which he does a good job at, because if he did have a 10, this is exactly how I would think he would play it. He would flat the flop, and then put in a value bet here on the smaller side to get us to call. So he's repping the 10 well. So I'm not going to just flat here, but a min raise looks way strong. So I'm going to put in a large raise to look like, because he knows I'm a thinking player as well. So to him, this is going to look like, okay, he knows what we're just leveling each other, really. I'm pretending to be doing a re-steal here on his 45-cent bet, which would induce him to do that, to shove, right? All this time we're kind of disregarding 6, but 6 has been calling, so he obviously has something as well. I'm not worried about 4. 6 is the only one that I'm really worried about having something, because if 4 did have like pocket deuces here or a better 10, I don't think he would take this this much of an aggressive line with 2 callers. Like, you're going to try to extract max value. So he was messing around. The small blind had a 10 with me, but a worse kicker, and then we just get max value there from a hand that shouldn't have been in there at all, I don't think. So here we pick up ace 9 of clubs. We're in the hijack, and we make it 4x. Like I said, that's our standard, and we flop trips again. So tonight is trips night for us. It's pretty good flops for for our sake. Was doing a little promotion on the YouTube channel here, telling these guys about it, trying to get my audience up. Have these guys come in and watch some of the hands that they got to play, and get to see from my side of it if they wanted to. So I put in sorry, I shouldn't have included this if the chat is just going to be blocking the action. I put in a really small bet there to induce bluffs, right? So like I lead the flop with a decent sized continuation bet, and the king comes, and I put in a really small bet to induce bluffs. He checks back, so we're going to check it back too. I mean, no reason to. He's not calling with worse. So he had queen 10 there, and we just took it down. So this is yesterday's session. So those were the only 3 hands I included from that night. And then this is yesterday's session. So we started off with about $96 in the bankroll, I think, something around that. So here we pick up pocket sevens. Player 1 had raised pre-flop under the gun. So I don't see any 6s in his under the gun pre-flop raising range. Obviously he can have an overpair. That's very viable. So when he bets, we just call on the flop, and now he bets fairly large, and we're going to continue to call here. We have an overpair we're happy with. He could be doing this with a flush draw, and if he is doing it with an overpair, he would probably check back right there, right? Because he's like, okay, I have showdown. We're still beating ace kings, king queens, ace queens, but we turn our hand into a bluff here, just in case he had jacks or nines or queens, anything else that if we check back we're losing to, that he can fold, putting us on the 6. So that's why we turn the hand into a bluff, just to get him to fold out all over pairs. But he calls with his showdown that he gained on the river, so we were correct in our play, and he just got there on the river. It happens sometimes. So next relevant hand, this was a limped pot. I was in the big blind. It checks around on the flop, and then the button makes it half pot, which just kind of looks like a steal to me. We have middle pair, second pair, so we just bump it up. Hopefully just take it down there. But he comes along with us. King comes out, so we're happy to check here. Do a little pot control. We thought he was messing around. Maybe he had like 3-5 or 5-7 or something like that, like some type of a straight draw. So he checked back when the king came. He might have a weak 10, but if he did have a weak 10, he wouldn't have went all in there. That's why we snapped. It just didn't. His line didn't make sense. The second king comes out. If he did have a king, he would for sure bet there because he picks up super good equity, and there's also a flush draw on board. So it just didn't make sense. So that's what we did there, and he went all in, and typically that's weak. So here we did a little bit of a squeeze play, and we got one caller. He only had 22 cents behind after the squeeze, so he just calls. He had 10 king and clean run out for us, and we take that one down as well. Here we have king queen offsuit under the gun, virtual under the gun. So we 4x here. We get a caller behind in the cutoff, and we will be taking a flop with these gentlemen. So ace high flop. This hits our under the gun raising range pretty solid. We have lots of aces, lots of good aces in our range here. So we're just going to continue, and it's not the worst thing if we get called because if he does have an ace, potentially we have 4 outs. So he comes along there, so we could put him on a flush draw, we could put him on an ace. Now if he had an ace, like a strong ace, I really just don't see this bet unless he had ace 8, and if he does have ace 8, I don't see him putting in a pot-sized bet. I would see him extracting value. So this just seems kind of fishy to me, and when people do fishy things, I tend to get pretty sticky. So my plan was to take it away from him on the river if he had a weak ace, but then we gained showdown value, and I just checked back. I wish I thought about it a little bit more, because I think I would have decided to turn that into a bluff, just because I would have maybe figured out if he did have a weak ace that he would be able to fold it, and we didn't think about it too much. We got showdown value, and we were happy to check back on the river, but I would have liked to have thought about that one a little bit longer before making that decision. So here we have 6-5 of clubs. We had the virtual under the gun raised 4x, and we call. I like these little suited connectors. If I'm in early position with them, like if I'm in the blinds and it just is a limped pot around, then I will typically raise it up just to represent strength when I'm out of position. If I get a lower flop, then I can continue betting with equity, and if there's a higher flop out there, then I can sell a better range on higher flops because of my pre-flop raise. And they're just sneaky little hands. I like them a lot. But if I am in position and it's a raised pot, obviously I'm just going to call. No reason to bloat the pot in position. So that's what we did here is we just called. If we were out of position to this guy, we might raise it up to like 65 cents and just represent strength before we start playing. But that's fine. So this is a good flop for us. We flop bottom two. There's straight draws out there, flush draws, all this stuff. So we're gonna just put in a min raise. We've been playing pretty well at this table and leveling a lot, I think. So I do a lot of raises, min raises to see where I'm at, but then I also use them when I have strength to get people to do stuff like that. And so he shoves with king queen, and we just call and we win. Next relevant hand, we have ace king in the small blind. Pre-flop, I think it was limped, and then I raised to 20 cents, I believe, and then this gentleman over here calls. So we continue on that flop. This is a pretty safe turn for us. We're still beating everything except for pocket pairs, which I don't think he has. It is possible that he has a pocket pair, but I don't think so. And then this is a really strange bet. He bets $2 into a dollar, and I just don't buy it. He wouldn't bet a 6 like that. I don't think he'd bet a pair. So we're pretty sure we're good here with our call. That was a weird bet. So he was messing around. He had 5-10, but unfortunately a 5 came on the river and gave him a full house. So he beats us there on the river. But I tend to get pretty sticky when people's lines don't make sense. So that line just did not make sense. And when people's lines don't make sense, most of the time, it's for good reason. And when their line starts making no sense, typically it's a lot easier to take pots from them. They're just doing funky things. Especially at this level, I've had to really adjust my game. If you could see from episode 1 to now, it's just like I went in there with with like a 2-5 mentality, 5-10 mentality, and I've had to completely switch my game up with these guys because they're all stations and they just play really weird. All right, so we were the pre-flop raisers. We hit a deuce on the flop, so we continued with that. Then we hit 2 pair on the turn, and we continue with that as well. Half pot. This guy calls. So just calling down, I mean, he could have like a weak queen. I don't think he has a king. More likely, I thought that he had a straight draw that he missed. That's why I put that micro bet in there. I thought maybe he had 10 jack, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to bluff at it. That's why I put that very small bet in there on the river. And a lot of times, people will, even if they don't have showdown, will just call you when you put in a micro bet because they just want to see. So here we have ace king that we raised pre-flop, and it's a pretty solid flop for us. We flop top pair, top kicker. So we continue. We're just putting in small bets here. The board is paired now. I'm not really worried about a whole lot. If a diamond comes, we could get away from it. A little bit of pot control. 2 callers behind though, so the 3s kind of worries me a little bit. So I'll just check it here. I have plenty of showdown value and no reason to get check raised here. Or I'm sorry. If I put in a bet there and someone raised me, then I'm in a weird spot. So we end up losing that anyway because that guy had king jack and he river 2 pair. Here we put in a squeeze play on the button. We have 10 deuce of clubs, and there was 3 limpers. So we do our 4x plus 3x per limper, right? 1x per limper. So 7x is 35 cents. And like I said, we do this with really everything. If we had aces here, we do the same thing. Ace king. Pocket 2s, my whole range of hands that I decide I want to play a flop with, that I want to see a flop with, I will have the same raising range unless there is a raise in front of me or there's other action that goes on, then that's when it's time to get creative. So tonight is trips night, like I said. Trips again, and we've been doing the steel plate from the button a lot. So these guys are starting to catch on and not believe me. It's worked like 6 times where I haven't even put the clips up because they just worked, so they're not really relevant. So we play back at this guy to try to get him to commit, and he does. He just thinks we're full of shit. And we end up with quads. So good day. And then here we have pocket deuces, under the gun. If you see episode 1, I would have been raising this here. I just kind of slowed down my smaller pocket pairs. I think I was losing a lot with my smaller pocket pairs when I was out of position. So we slowed down. We're gonna go set mining here with these deuces. Big blind 5X's. We're gonna call. We had 2 potential callers behind, so I think we had good enough equity to go set mining. This is a decent flop for us. Other than the board being paired, it's not great when the board's paired over your pocket pairs because it's much easier for you to be counterfeited. Because now if a 9 or a 4 comes out and he has like ace queen, then he'll obviously beat us. So he checks, we check back. Very simple. We're gonna check back. We got showdown value, and he had ace jack there, so we take it down. Here we put in another squeeze play. We were doing this a lot at this table because these guys limp a lot. So if I'm in position with a decent hand, I'm going to squeeze. That's what I do. I bump it to 50 cents, and this time we get 2 callers. It's a pretty decent flop for us. We flop a flush draw with a backdoor straight draw, and this guy just goes all in. He doesn't have very much left, and player 1 has a similar size stack. So these guys are pretty much going to be getting it in with their entire ranges on this board once they call that squeeze play, I would think. Unfortunately for them, I have a hand that I have to call with here. So we call. He had jack 10, so we're pretty dominated here. And then we get lucky on the river and we make our flush, and we take that one down as well. Here we pick up pocket 8s. I think we are under the gun +2 here with a limper. What are we? Under the gun. No, I don't know. There was players sitting out. There was newly seated players. I don't know. We're in good position here with 8s. So we make it 30 cents. This guy goes all in, and we're going to isolate him. Jack King, he goes all in. We call, and there's a clean run out for us, and we take that one down as well. Then we pick up Queen King, under the gun +1. So 4x plus 1x per limper, so we make it 25 cents to go, 5x pot. Like I said, if I'm playing a hand, especially when I'm in early position, I really do like to raise it up because, you're in early position, you're out of position, so you just represent strength, and then it just gives you more options on the flop. Also, the bigger the pot, the more options you have once you're post-flop playing, because bet sizing, you can vary your bet sizing so much more on a bigger pot. It's easier to get reads on people when there's a bigger pot. I think it's just, you can play much better poker when the pot is large. So here we flop a open-ender with 2 overs. So potentially we could have 14 outs here. Probably not, though. We probably don't have 14 outs. But, if we were against, like, 5s and 4s, then we have, we would have 14 outs. Probably don't have 14 outs. This guy makes it 20 cents. We're just going to raise it up here. We're going to look to get it all in. And if any of these guys are messing around, then we take it down. But this guy goes all in. Under the gun goes all in. So we are also going to just put it all in there. Everybody flopped an open-ender. We flop the best one, and it breaks out for everybody, so we take it down with our king high. Pretty solid. And that's it. That's the relevant hands that I chose to post up. And we broke $100 on that session, so we are into triple digits, guys. Started with $20 8 days ago. We've played 30 hours so far, and we are officially over $100 with our bankroll. So $200 more, and we'll be able to move up levels. I bought a whiteboard so that we could put down some of the stats here. plus minus plus 81, average BBs an hour. We're averaging 54, time played 30 hours. Okay, guys, so that's it. That was episode, I think that's episode 6. So far, we are 9 for 10 in positive sessions. We've played 10 sessions on this bankroll builder, 9 of which we cash positive. So that's pretty great. The big blind average is insane for hourly. That's great too. We are officially over $100. Another great thing, and we will be moving up levels, $200 more. So maybe like 3 weeks or so, we'll move up levels, and that's it. I'll keep playing. I'll keep posting up sessions, and you guys can just watch the bankroll, and hopefully it keeps going in the direction it's going as fast as it's going. Get up to the next level soon. Thanks for joining us, guys.